Silence is of different kinds and breeds different meanings. Work hard in silence. Let your success make the noise. Silence is not the absence of something, but the presence of everything. He who does not understand your silence will probably not understand your words. All men's miseries derive from not being able to sit in a quiet room alone. Silence is only frightening to people who are compulsively verbalizing. Our toil must be in silence, and our efforts all in secret. For this enlightened age, when men believe not even what they see, the doubting of wise men would be his greatest strength. The monotony and solitude of a quiet life stimulates the creative mind. The silence that accepts merit as the most natural thing in the world is the highest applause. Silence is the great teacher, and to learn its lessons, you must pay attention to it. There is no substitute for the creative inspiration, knowledge, and stability that come from knowing how to contact your core of inner silence. The monotony and solitude of a quiet life stimulates the creative mind. He himself was almost never bored, and there was no man with whom it would have been a greater mistake to suppose that silence meant displeasure. In human intercourse, the tragedy begins, not when there is misunderstanding about words, but when silence is not understood. Keep silence for the most part, and speak only when you must, and then briefly. We're fascinated by the words, but where we meet is in the silence behind them. Better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak out and remove all doubt. If we can only speak to slander our betters, let us hold our tongues. Silence is not only never thirsty, but also never brings pain or sorrow. Silence becomes cowardice when occasion demands speaking out the whole truth and acting accordingly. All I insist on, and nothing else, is that you should show the whole world that you are not afraid. Be silent, if you choose, but when it is necessary, speak, and speak in such a way that people will remember it. Quiet minds cannot be perplexed or frightened, but go on in fortune or misfortune at their own private pace, like a clock during a thunderstorm. But there is greater comfort in the substance of silence than in the answer to a question. What hurts the victim most is not the cruelty of the oppressor, but the silence of the bystander. Meditation is silence, energizing and fulfilling. Silence is the eloquent expression of the inexpressible. Though silence is not necessarily an admission, it is not a denial either. Learn to get in touch with the silence within yourself and know that everything in this life has a purpose. I don't think many people appreciate silence or realize that it is as close to music as you can get. True silence is the rest of the mind. It is to the spirit what sleep is to the body, nourishment and refreshment. Music is pleasing not only because of the sound, but because of the silence that is in it. Without the alternation of sound and silence, there would be no rhythm. Even in the most beautiful music, there are some silences, which are there so we can witness the importance of silence. A sudden silence in the middle of a conversation suddenly brings us back to essentials. It reveals how dearly we must pay for the invention of speech. If there were a little more silence, if we all kept quiet, maybe we could understand something. If you spend enough time with yourself in silence, you'll be surprised what goes through your head. Some of the most powerful speeches have been delivered in the dedicated silence of my actions. Truth is the offspring of silence and meditation. I keep this subject constantly before me and wait till the first dawnings open slowly, by little and little, into a full and clear light. Everything has its wonders, even darkness and silence, and I learn whatever state I am in, therein to be content. In the attitude of silence, the soul finds the path in a clearer light, and what is elusive and deceptive resolves itself into crystal clearness. Our life is a long and arduous quest after truth. I wash my hands of those who imagine chattering to be knowledge, silence to be ignorance, and affection to be art. Wise men, when in doubt whether to speak or to keep quiet, give themselves the benefit of the doubt, and remain silent. Much talking is the cause of danger. Silence is the means of avoiding misfortune. The talkative parrot is shut up in a cage. Other birds, without speech, fly freely about. The true genius shudders at incompleteness, and usually prefers silence to saying something which is not everything it should be. Silence is pure and holy. It draws people together because only those who are comfortable with each other can sit without speaking. I have learned now that while those who speak about one's miseries usually hurt, those who keep silence hurt more. When a question has no correct answer, there is only one honest response. The grey area between yes and no, silence. The space, the gaps, the pauses, the silence, those things that allow us to regenerate and recharge, had all but disappeared in my own life and in the lives of so many I knew. The human heart has hidden treasures, in secret kept, in silence sealed. The thoughts, the hopes, the dreams, the pleasures, whose charms were broken if revealed. Silence is something more than just a pause. It is that enchanted place where space is cleared and time is stayed, and the horizon itself expands, peak alaya. A few moments of inner peace and quiet allows the brain to reset itself. You become more centered as this happens, since the brain is clearing out distractions and too much crosstalk. If we have not quiet in our minds, outward comfort will do no more for us than a golden slipper on a gouty foot. Learn to be quiet enough to hear the genuine within yourself so that you can hear it in others. Silence was not the absence of sound, but was itself a sound that could be loud or soft, soothing or disturbing, complex or simple. Make peace with silence and remind yourself that it is in this space that you'll come to remember your spirit. When you're able to transcend an aversion to silence, you'll also transcend many other miseries. Silence is the universal refuge, the sequel to all dull discourses and all foolish acts, a balm to our every chagrin, as welcome after satiety as after disappointment. In the attitude of silence, the soul finds the path in a clearer light, and what is elusive and deceptive resolves itself into crystal clearness. We need silence to be able to reach ourself. Both internal and external silence is very important to feel the presence of that supreme love. Silence is exhilarating at first, as noise is, but there is a sweetness to silence outlasting exhilaration, akin to the sweetness of listening and the velvet of sleep.